This is very bad for the Boston Red Sox as they fall to 1-4 on the year with an 8-5 loss in Baltimore for their fourth straight loss, and it continues to be some bad news for the Boston Red Sox. Welcome in here to the heart of Boston sports. I'm Jace Andrews, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We got Boston content coming to you with Red Sox, Celtics, Patriots, and hopefully some Bruins here and there, although not doing too hot this season. All right, let's just talk about this. It has been a horrific start for the Boston Red Sox. Obviously, the 1-4 start is not what anybody expected with the pieces that you were able to bring in this offseason with Garrett Crochet and Alex Bregman and Walker Buehler and Kristian Campbell made the opening day roster. You had the positives all working out, and yet where has that gotten you? Well, nowhere besides opening day when you won 5-2 thanks to a 3-run homer from Wilyer Abreu. And mind you, the only reason that game was tied was because of a Wilyer Abreu home run earlier in the game. So honestly, thank goodness for him. We'll talk about that more in just a second. But it's just not good, and more news continues to pile on the Red Sox, and we'll talk about that news in just a moment. But a 4-1 loss, and then a 4-3 loss, a 3-2 loss, 8-5. They finally scored some runs again today, but it didn't matter. The pitching staff with Sean Newcomb just did not get stuff going early. 4 runs in the first inning, 4 straight hits, all off cutters, which in my mind, listening to the game, I'm thinking, okay, you've thrown the cutter, it hasn't worked, stop throwing it. And yet he continued to throw it, it continued to get hit, and it led to 4 runs before we could even see 3 outs on the board. So not a great start from Sean Newcomb. There's a reason I said if anybody was going to make the roster in terms of starting pitching, that was not going to be, our normal starters. It was going to be Richard Fitz, which he did pretty well yesterday in his start, but Sean Newcomb does not deserve a spot on this roster. As soon as Brian Bayo or Lucas Giolito comes back, he'll be the first one that'll be booted, and I'd almost say he might get booted off the team. It might be a DFA for him. I like Cooper Criswell way more than Sean Newcomb. I honestly believe that Cooper Criswell should be the starter today. Quinn Priester even, I believe. I just don't understand why Sean Newcomb got the start today. Now, all things considered, he only allowed 4 runs, ended up pitching well through into the game. I believe he got out in like the 5th or 6th inning. I believe Garrett White came on for the 6th and 7th. So got through 5 innings, only allowed 4 runs. I mean, it's not terrible, but at the same time, it put you in a very tough position where the Red Sox were playing from behind all day. Jarren Duran finally got a big hit, got a triple, and obviously his first of the year was the leader in triples last year. Just a lot of big things that kind of come out of it. But good news is Wilyer Abreu has been absolutely fantastic. And for how many mock trades he has been included in, including some of my own, I don't think he's leaving anytime soon. He leads the team in batting average, home runs, RBI, on-base percentage, and hits. And he didn't even play today. Which, question of its own right. I mean, I know that obviously Romy Gonzalez and got out there, did his job, along with Rob Refsnyder. They both got hits, and they played well. I'm not going to say that it was the quote-unquote wrong move to play them, but I do think it was the wrong move to take Wilyer Abreu out of the lineup. If you're taking anybody in the lineup, it's Ceddanne Rafaela, and honestly, I hate to say it, but that extension last year doesn't look so good right now when you have Roman Anthony in the minors who blasted 2 home runs yesterday. It's just not a great thing. And so now you sit here and think, okay, what's the move? Well, we'll talk about that in a second. But just the hitting has just been atrocious. And let's get into Rafeal Devers. 0 for 19, 15 strikeouts. And my guy Steve Peralt here, I love listening to him. If you haven't listened to Section 10, get into it. It's a great show. But he kind of says it. Not even sure sitting him would change anything right now. And I have to agree. I mean, what do you do with Rafeal Devers now that he can't hit a fastball? I mean, we've talked about his career and mentioned it so many times how he is fed off the fastball. He lives beating Aroldis Chapman, now his teammate, beating him in his fastballs. He lived off crushing Garrett Cole in a lot of his fastballs. And now all of a sudden, the only way he can get on base is by walking. I mean, today was definitely a lot better in terms of ABs. Got a couple of walks, definitely looked more comfortable at the plate. But still, it's just the strikeouts continue, not getting a hit for what is a prolific hitter in his career. It's not something to look at and be excited for, this kind of upbringing over the next couple of days, because it was mentioned a lot on broadcast. This isn't going to be a flip of the switch. He'll hit 3 home runs tomorrow and be fine. No, this is going to be a hole that he's going to have to dig out of for a second. He's going to have to kind of figure stuff out. And I know he adjusted his swing a bit, but it shouldn't be a big adjustment, especially for a major league caliber batter. I mean, the reason he moved to DH because he's such a valuable hitter, and now he's not even doing that. Like, what do you do in this instance? Masataka Yoshida, who's quote-unquote hurt, would be like the 3rd best hitter in this lineup. Thanks to literally Kristian Campbell, who has been our saving grace, and Wilyer Abreu, this team's offense is not looking terrible, but take those 2 out of the lineup, oh boy, it is not looking good. I mean, go one further, take Jarren Duran out of it as well, and you're looking at a very bad lineup in terms of production thus far. I continue right here. And I know that Tristan Casas and Connor Wong are not supposed to be these prolific hitters, but at the same time, these are guys that were talked about being staples in the Boston Red Sox lineup. They were going to be good hitters in the Boston Red Sox lineup. And Connor Wong has 1 hit. Tristan Casas, again, who didn't play today, but only has 1 hit. He grounded out when he had his 1 pinch hit opportunity. Not to mention Trevor Story, who is batting 133 right now. It's just not good. And the questions are starting to be asked. What do the Red Sox do? You're 1-4. The offense hasn't been going. The bullpen finally cracked today. That was the one, I'm going to quote-unquote say bright spot, because I think Wilyer Abreu was a bright spot and Kristian Campbell, but in terms of a team effort, obviously offense, defense, pitching, the pitching had been a bright spot. It had been. The bullpen had been incredible for the most part. And then today it kind of blew up. Justin Slayton couldn't get a single out, loaded the bases. You scored 2 runs in the 9th, but it didn't matter. I don't know, if it's a safe situation, does Felix Bautista pitch a little better? That's obviously a question that is definitely deserved to be asked, but still, you scored 2 runs, but it didn't matter at that point because you were down, 8-3. 2 runs didn't matter. It just made it 8-5. That's all it did. Just made it look a little bit better. Whoop-de-doo. You're still 1-4. Doesn't matter. Thank God for Kristian Campbell. I mean, this kid has been electric, and I'm so excited that we've gotten to see him come up and flourish and do well. Already's got his first home run of the way, got a hit very early, so he was the reason in a big way that the Red Sox were able to get the win that they have in the first game. He got on base on a very, hard hit to the left side. Obviously, kind of a weird one to bounce off the glove, but then Wilyer Abreu's home run right after a 3-run shot that gave the Red Sox the win. So, he's a big reason part of that. But I love seeing him and, thinking, oh man, he's been a huge part of this offense. And you're sitting here and think, okay, well, we got 2 more of quote unquote the big 3 down there. Right now, our best offensive piece is Wilyer Abreu, who, by the way, was a rookie last year, not to mention. And you got Kristian Campbell, who's the second best piece of our offense. And then you have Roman Anthony and Marcello Mayer, who are doing great things in AAA. Roman Anthony had 2 home runs last night, along with a walk. Marcello Mayer continues his hot streak in AAA, which everybody was so freaked out about him not playing AAA, and I'm not going to say I disagree with that, but doing fine. Played 2 games, played a couple games, he's been fine. Does the conversation have to be had of when do the next 2 come up? When is it Roman Anthony's time to play? When is it Marcello Mayer's time to come up? Because these 3 were talked about generational talents. And the one thing that I will say, and the positive that has come out of this past week, has been Craig Breslow and him talking about the big 3 and saying they will be big pieces, not just for 2025, but for the Red Sox long-term future, which I like because not going to say that it's, specific people, and I've never mentioned this, but there has been talks of what if down the line, the Red Sox are in a better place and they need to trade somebody and they trade Marcello Mayer or trade Roman Anthony. No, not happening. Marcello Mayer has been more talked about than Anthony. Anthony is going to be at the major league level within the next month. I'm very confident about that. But you do not trade any of these players. You get them up and you extend them. The Boston Red Sox, when they were in their prime, 04, 13, somewhat of 18. Obviously, 07 was a lot, but they were all homegrown players. It was homegrown talent, and the Red Sox have gotten away from that in a way. And, Chaim Bloom died for this roster that they're having. Kyle Teel is crushing it for the White Sox in their minor league system. Obviously, I don't think the Red Sox made a bad move by trading for Crochet and getting up Teel. Not saying that. They should extend Crochet to make the trade fully worth it. But however, I digress. Anthony and Marcello Mayer will be on this team for hopefully the next 8+ years. That's what I want. I want extensions done as soon as they're up. That's straight up what should happen, and I want them to be up rather sooner than later because Trevor Story is starting to get on my nerves in a lot of ways, and the question just continues with him is, how long do we let this experiment go? 1 for 11, 091 batting average. Now only walked once, so his OBP is just a little bit above that batting average. I can't sit here and look at Trevor Story and see the offensive numbers he's had, and then see Marcello Mayer down in the minors batting 280, 300, stealing bags, playing good defense, and think, oh yeah, well, we have Trevor Story. He's a clubhouse guy. We should keep him. I'm starting to get to not to that point. I'm starting to think it's Marcello Mayer's time to come up and take over that shortstop position. Do you think Marcello Mayer should be up? Let me know down in the comments section. I'm kind of getting a little over this whole Trevor Story thing. I'm not going to say that was a regret for signing him. Obviously, it was a good move. It just hadn't panned out the way it is, and I think you got to cut your losses. Marcello Mayer is going to be your starting shortstop on this team, hopefully, for the next couple years. Maybe 8 years. I mean, in my mind, Trevor Story has 3 years left on his deal. The whole plan was that Marcello Mayer probably wouldn't be up until the end of this year, so 2 years of Story and then Marcello takes over. Marcello would be up, though. He'd play somewhere. Well, if Trevor Story's not hitting, I don't want Trevor Story for another 3 years. I want Marcello Mayer now. That's what I'd like. It's a tough look because obviously I do think Trevor Story was a hot topic, and Bregman struggled as well. And I'm not saying that he's gonna stink, but if this continues, it's definitely a question to be had. And so I'm very, very pro Marcello Mayer and Roman Anthony right now, especially with the team and the way it's been going. And in my mind, if you keep stinking, and you say you start the season 2-10 or whatever, maybe you do need to bring up Mayer and Anthony just for a jolt for this team, just to get something going. Heck, put Masataka Yoshida on DH for a day or two. I don't care. See what happens. Something in the momentum has to change. I thought it would be the change of scenery by going to Baltimore. You now get a day off, so maybe it's the day off and you play well on Wednesday, but it's not looking good for the Red Sox in any manner. And for Rafeal Devers, you start to think, man, really could have used those spring training at-bats to get this out. And now, it's regular season, and the story in the MLB, besides the torpedo bats, is definitely Rafeal Devers and his struggles. We'll talk to you next time. I appreciate you joining us. If you made it through the end of this video, well, then hit that subscribe button because you're enjoying the content. Well, I would appreciate it. We'll see you next time here on the Heart of Boston Sports.